All right, let's bring in Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Busy day at practice. Did you wish Darian a happy birthday, Dave? I know I didn't. I saw it on his Facebook feed. It said, happy birthday, Darian. I'm like, oh, man. We got him on every Monday, and we don't even, nothing. That wasn't a Dairy Queen cake or anything.
How many anniversaries have you missed? Just throwing that out there. And how well did it go the next day when you text and say, hey, would you mind coming back so that we can wish you a happy birthday or anniversary? Just saying.
Oh, no. Dave, you know this. When you're going to be married and stay married, you miss no anniversaries. You do not miss any anniversaries. You do get told that some of the gifts you've given in the past maybe didn't hit the mark, and was there any thought put into them? That's a whole other story. That's where Dave and Maz talk about marriage, but it's not on the SportsCage. That's a separate podcast that we'll be starting in the next couple of weeks.
Fair enough.
It's all right. Dave, a lot of people talking about the Riders kicking game. I give Brett Lothar credit for chatting with you yesterday. To me, that he doesn't have to do that, but he's owning it. He's standing behind it. He is like the ultimate consummate professional. But the Riders bring in Campbell Fair today. He's now part of the practice roster. He was out there today. And did you know this was in the works? Was this a surprise when you got to the stadium? And how did he look in day one, second time around as a Rider?
Trying to answer that question, I didn't have any prior knowledge that it was going to be Campbell Fair or anyone else. I didn't know. I do know that the Saskatchewan Roughriders belief and one of their core pillars is that they have a standard of performance. Mm-hmm. And if they don't believe that you're hitting that standard of performance, then they're going to make changes. And that's an accountability clause, if you will. And I do know that Jeremy O'Day, Larry Dean, the rest of the staff, Larry Dean's been down at NFL camps for the last couple of weeks. Saw him back at Mosaic Stadium today. I do know that him and Kyle Carson are all, the three of them, are all committed to ensuring that they've got the best product. And if they can find some way to better the football team, they will do that. And they're not going to hold fast doing that. Now, don't kid yourself. Brett Lothar is a staple on this football team, not just for the kicking that he provides. He's a team captain. He's a leader. He brings an awful lot to that locker room that no one will ever see. So, yeah, he's a good guy. We know that off the hop. Yes, he does a lot in the community. Yes, that's absolutely true. But he's also a glue guy in the locker room. And it's really, really tough to go and disrupt any of that energy. And a little bit of that disruption occurred today with the signing. However, that doesn't say that Brett Lothar is leaving. That doesn't say Brett Lothar is gone. That just means that, hey, there's another kicker here that wants to try to earn a job as a professional kicker in the Canadian Football League.
Now, Campbell Fair, if the name sounds familiar, is because he was a Rider back in 2023. Take us back. Was he here just for like a week or two? Because he was on the practice roster then, but it was near the end of the season. What was the scenario?
So, yeah, you're right. So, originally drafted by the Calgary Stampeders, round 6, he went had a tryout with the Stamps. That didn't work out. He's had a couple of other tryouts, and one of which was here with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He ends the season on the practice roster, and what happens if you end the season on a practice roster, you automatically become a free agent. He wasn't offered a contract, or maybe there were terms that they couldn't agree to, whatever the case may be. Campbell Fair was not brought back. He is now back, and that's kind of the story. But again, he was with Edmonton in training camp this year, giving Vincent Blanchard a bit of a run for his money. As I understand, the kicking competition between the two was pretty fierce. Blanchard didn't start the season the best for the Edmonton Elks, but then again, no one on that team really did, to say the least, right?
So he wasn't the problem. Trust me, he wasn't the problem in Edmonton.
That's right. So that's where Campbell comes in, and that's how he finds himself here in Riderville.
Okay. And from what it sounds like, they put him to work in practice today. Like, he was out there, he's kicking field goals. Like, how? Now, normally for the average fan, we don't go to practice. You're there all the time. Does field goals happen at the start, at the end, in the middle? When does it happen? Does it spur of the moment? Like, when do they do that when the Riders are practicing?
It depends on the day. quite literally. But usually what we usually see is that Brett Lothar is amongst the first players to get out onto the field. He'll come out early with Jorgen Hughes and Joe Couch. They'll practice some kicking on their own before the team arrives out onto the field. And then usually early on in the practice, they go through field goal. And on a day like today, so today being day 2 of their preparation week, they do add more special teams components to the practice, the workout, and the preparation. So you do see an opportunity for more kicks to occur. And today we saw that, not just with the kicking game, but also with the punting game. But Campbell Frere got his opportunity to get out there, kick the football, and again, he was put to the test because he came into Regina yesterday. Wow, long story short, he had a heck of a travel day getting into Regina and didn't have a lot of rest, but it's like, hey, buddy, put on your cleats, let's go. So Coach Mace put him on the clock, literally. Clock counting down, 56-yard field goal comes in, and here we go. All's good. And so, yeah, he nailed it between the uprights. But, yeah, that's it right there to a nutshell, is that, hey, welcome here. Now let's go.
Nice. It's like Mace doing this, and maybe if the streak continues, maybe always day 1, it's going to be like, oh, let's put the pads on. All right, time to knock the rust off. Pads on, that second week in a row. All right, let's keep going. And if they keep winning, I can't see them changing, right? Because there's a lot of crazy superstitious people in the world of football.
That's the biggest thing right there. The Riders are undefeated when they have pads on in day number 1 this year. Just so you know.
I saw you on Saturday with your video, and I'm like, I forgot to ask Dave because I was going to bring it up. I had it in my notes. What suit jackets are undefeated this year, or what ties, what combo? Like, if I see at the game on Saturday in Calgary, like, what's the dress going to be? Is that already picked out? Was that predetermined back when the schedule came out? Like, where are you in your craziness?
So where I'm at right now is that I sit down and figure out the records of each individual outfit and tie, shirt, jacket, pant combination. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I can tell you the shoes that I'm wearing are currently 8-1. So they've been there through the regular season. They were ditched after the preseason, the old ones. So there you go.
But on the flip side, is Luke this crazy too, or is Luke shows up however Luke shows up and let her rip?
Well, thanks to Aaron over at Colin O'Brien's, we both look pretty good when we get there.
I know, but does Luke have a spreadsheet with dress shirt in one column, suit jacket in another, shoes, pants?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely
I
not.
kind of figured that. Any surprise? I looked at the injury report and I'm like, a lot of healthy bodies on there. There's not a lot of, when it says DNP, that means did not practice. There was only one DNP on there.
Yeah. And that one scares me. That one scares me.
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, it's that knee again, man.
Well, I don't know which knee it is, and I didn't see the injury, and I didn't even see Nick at the facility today. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Please don't read in between the lines, aside from Dave Thomas saying that I just didn't happen to see Nick Wiebe today. So, again, we talked about it last week and how it was almost a calendar year to the day that he got his first CFL start, got into a couple of games, and then re-aggravated the knee in practice. So, again, I read that and my heart kind of sank. A good kid out of Alberta, played for the U of S Huskies, was down south where he started his college career, and he's come in and he's earned this spot on special teams, 10 tackles going into last week, and getting some rotation in on defense too. So that's huge for a guy that missed most of last year and is just in his second year as a pro.
I felt the exact same way when I saw the picture on social media on the weekend of Lake Corte Moore and in the hospital bed and, with the leg and the brace. Just like, there's another one of those guys that just all the talent in the world, but it's the injury bug. And sometimes it gets you and it's tough. And you're like, and you hope for Wiebe that this is just a small thing and it's a nothing. And it's kind of like, all right, he's back out there tomorrow. Prairie Rentals text line 306-936-6262. Travis says, ask Dave about Shawn Bane Jr.
Shawn Bane Jr. is wearing what I would call it a game brace on his knee right now, and he's working it in, for lack of a better term. They have him doing some exercises on the side that is stressing the knee joint, and I think this is part of the confidence buildup, but it's also a situation right now where you don't want to risk Shawn Bane Jr. coming back too early. And that was one of the things that I've heard from other athletes is that they push themselves too hard to come back too quick. And Shawn being the competitor that he is, that this is tough for him to watch. Now, today, he was actually out there running more routes in the individual drills than I've seen him run in quite a while. And he looks good. The question at one point that was pointed out to me was the fact that when he makes his break, he was losing some of the speed that he had normally had. And I guess Shawn Bane Jr., in the description I was given, is that he's such a consistent route runner that you know where he's going to be and how he's going to get there. And if you're off by a millisecond, right, that can throw a lot of timing out individually and for the team. So Shawn Bane Jr., to answer the question, he has been active and is continuing to get more active. He is going to force a decision on the coaching staff extremely quickly, I would suggest, and the fact that he is returning into game form, it just is going to be when will that question of Corey Mace and Mark Mueller, Jeremy O'Day, when will they go ahead and make that decision?
They'll probably give you the stock answer of every game is important. We need to go 1-0 this week. But if you're Jake Maier and Tommy Stevens, how much do you want to win this game on Saturday? Keep in mind, they may not play a snap. I mean, Stevens short yardage and Maier, unless it's a certain situation, but they may be stapled to the bench because of Trevor Harris being Trevor Harris. But both of them are going back home where they started their careers, and now they're Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, and the player you should add into that is Mike Rose on the defensive line as well, right?
That's right. I forgot
just came
Mike
over
Rose.
from Calgary.
That's right, because they didn't offer him a contract because they thought, no, it's time to move on. There's nothing left in the tank.
And, while I don't want to put words in their mouths because I don't know exactly how much they're looking forward to it, what I can tell you is that what they always say, and they told us before they played Calgary the first time, was how much they love it being in Saskatchewan. How, for Jake Maier, he said, what a breath of fresh air it's been for him to go ahead and re-energize, recommit himself. And I'm not suggesting that it by any way, shape, or form that he let off the gas pedal, but he looks like a different player in the fact that he's got confidence in what he's doing, and he's just having fun. Same goes with Tommy Stevens. Again, I was talking to him like, man, you're going out on 3rd and short, and the fans are on their feet. Where does that happen anywhere else for the short yardage quarterback, right? And so Tommy kind of smiled, and he, again, loved it. His dad was in town for the game last weekend. Loved it. And when you bring up Mike Rose, again, he's loving it. He's playing fantastic football. Him and Micah Johnson inside are arguably the top 2 defensive tackles in this league in the way that they can take on double teams and the way that they can affect the passing game. So they're all looking forward to it. I doubt anyone is going to give any bulletin board material, but again, what I can say without a shadow of a doubt is how much they love being with the Roughriders.
We had Jay McNeil, the president of the Calgary Stampeders, on in hour number 1. And I've always appreciated Jay, and I've never spoken to him before an hour ago. But in any interview I've ever seen since he's taken over as the president, he's been incredibly honest and candid about the situation regarding the Stampeders, not only on the field, but off the field. And he kind of said, like, hey, they weren't meeting their standards off the field, fans, engagement, and all that, and they weren't meeting it on the field, and it meant time for change. And I said, that's pretty risky. The roster turnover that you guys did to be 6-3, Dave, sometimes this experiment doesn't work out, a.k.a. Ottawa, a.k.a. Edmonton, times 5 or 6 year. Like, sometimes it doesn't. Guts move by that organization to get rid of guys like Maier, Stevens, Rose. Guys, they're pretty good CFL players to be like, now we got to go in a different direction.
Well, yeah, and doesn't that verify and maybe validate something that we talked about last year is there are a lot of people that were calling for Dave Dickenson to be let go. And we talked about here, like, you don't go to being from a football genius to a football dummy overnight. Sometimes the room will tune you out. Sometimes different things will happen. But I don't think it was an X's and O's thing. Again, was the workload too high? Well, it looks like Dave has taken on the same workload this year in Calgary. And again, sometimes it's just you got to make that change and make that refresh, and it worked out well. And I'm with you. It was a gamble. I was shocked yesterday, if you're listening to Barney, and he was talking with Jock Wilson from Calgary. And Jock said, we understand that we're not going to fill the building like we used to. The old barn just isn't as good as it used to be, alluding to the condition of McMahon Stadium. I'm like, wow, that's That's kind of a tough place to be in, but maybe that is a reality. But then, like you say, talking today, hearing over 25,000 tickets have been sold.
I know.
A little passion there, right?
Normally, I think they cap it around because they tarp off sections like a lot of stadiums do that don't have fans. It's like 22, 23, 24,000. But it's funny, when you're watching the games on TSN, it looks like 10,000 people maybe. The Elk games are worse. It looks like there's 1,000 people at Edmonton Elk games these days. So I think that the situation may be a little more dire in Edmonton than Calgary, but Calgary used to have 33,000 fans. You couldn't get a seat. It used to be sold out.
Saying that, though, it is really deceptive. And I learned that the hard way this year because we were in Toronto, and I'm like, there's like nobody here. Like, this is terrible. And, of course, we've got the same vantage point. We're on the same side as television is. But then I, took a step outside the booth at halftime, right, just to look around to get a feel. And it was pretty full down below us, right? So all the fans were on the one side of the field because they want to sit behind the players' benches. Plus, there's a shade component, so on and so forth. Same deal in Edmonton, from what I understand. And again, I didn't capture this feeling last year when we were in Edmonton, and it'll be interesting what happens when we go to Commonwealth Stadium later this season. But there are a lot of fans that want to sit behind the home team bench. And that just happens to be the non-TV side, which makes it look a little worse than what it is. Now, I'm not going ahead and saying, hey, there's tons of people, it's a sellout. I'm just saying that, sometimes the look is deceptive on television.
Week 12 in the CFL kicks off tomorrow night. Winnipeg 5-4, in Montreal 5-5. Caleb Evans for the Alouettes is out with the season. Is it an MCL or an ACL? He's done. So they signed Shea Patterson, and good for Shea. I'm glad he's getting another shot in this CFL because whatever anybody wants to say about him, he performed dutifully for the Riders. When called upon to whatever the situation, went in, and you could tell he's a heart and soul. He's a guts guy. It didn't work out here, but I got nothing but respect for Patterson, trying to make the best of whatever situation he was given all through his CFL career, not only just with the Riders.
Absolutely. And you being a father like you are, think about what he encountered last year. Trevor Harris gets hurt. Shea Patterson finds out that, hey, you're going in, and, oh, by the way, that's your due date. So plays a game, gets out to Michigan for the birth of his child, and then comes back, and then, again, is performing, is operating, all with a newborn that he's looking on from afar. Again, I was captivated by his focus and his attention to detail, and I'm with you. I'm glad he's getting another shot. I hope that he makes the most of it in Montreal.
I know there's a lot of people that are relishing in the fact, the Bombers have 4 losses. Remember, after 4 games last year, they had 4 losses and then managed to turn it around. They're learning how to win. It's a different team. Yes, they've lost players. They've lost some free agents, but they're winning through adversity. If they beat Montreal, they're 6-4, and they're going on the road. One of the signings this week on the practice roster, don't know if he'll play, but they've been decimated by injury. They bring back former All-Star DeMario Houston. Played 3 years with the Bombers, played last year with the Stamps, but in the offseason was charged with a crime. The charges, and then he was cut by the Stamps. The charges ended up getting dropped. So nothing came of that, and the Bombers pick him up. With a guy with that much experience, he's on the street, he would know the Bomber system. It kind of makes sense. Now, some people don't like the fact of the legal stuff, but if there's nothing there, and some people say, no, there is stuff there. Well, okay, but in the court of law, it's not. And if he is free to travel and cross the border, then the Bombers are doing with their due diligence and bringing in a football player that can help their team.
Far be it from me to pass judgment on anybody, but what I will say is that this is a great opportunity for both the player and the team, as there's a need on both sides, and I think that that's an area that Winnipeg really needs to shore up and wants to shore up, and I think that they've successfully done it. Now, I don't know if he gets in. I haven't heard. I didn't look at the depth chart before coming in, but I would very much be surprised if he does not play this week. I'm very confident that he likely gets in.
I wonder if this is a situation, and I don't know if 2 years ago The Bombers offered him a contract to stay in Winnipeg, but then he chose more money and went to Calgary. That the grass was greener. Maybe if he just stays in Winnipeg, like you always wonder about that. And now he's back with them. And I think he automatically helps them make them better because when he was on, he's one of the better defenders in the league and gets a few games under his belt that it makes Winnipeg better. I think that's a completely winnable game for Winnipeg on the road with Montreal because of, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Alouettes. It's not going to be Davis Alexander. So throw that right out the window. It's going to be a mishmash of you don't know who. So advantage Winnipeg just for the roster stability.
Well, and the time of possession, right? Because Montreal's defense is a good defense, but they've had a problem staying on the field with Davis Alexander not at the helm. And when you lose the time of possession as significantly as the Alouettes have, your defense is out there an awful long time. And again, even the best defense in the world is going to get tired out in a football game, and that's where Montreal has got to find a way to stay on the field offensively. I thought they'd go much heavier on the run game, but they haven't done it thus far this year, which I'm a little surprised at, but I'm guessing we'll see a healthy dose this week.
Edmonton in Ottawa Friday. I kind of like what the Elks have going. The Cody and the sprinkling of Jesus here, there, whatever. They look like a complete football team with him at quarterback. Now that doesn't. Some people are going to be like, it just does. Their offense seems complete. Whether it's working or not, it just seems if they're running, they're running. If they're throwing, they're throwing. Cody is never going to be a guy you're going to put on film to show a 14 to 16-year-old young football player of, here is how you play quarterback. That's never going to be Cody. He's got his own style, but it seems to work. And Ottawa, who knows? Drew Brown. Which Drew Brown are you going to get?
Drew Brown's actually out for the game, so that's not going to help things either.
Okay, well, yeah, there you go. So then I'm good with my Edmonton. I like what Edmonton's doing. They're getting better as a football team. And Javon Leake has really come on. And so is Justin Rankin in these past couple of games. Like they're playing like they did last year when the Elks got hot and causing people problems, not only in the return game, but running the football.
Yeah, and Justin Rankin he doesn't get a lot of credit for the physicality that he brings in the blocking scheme, but he does a nice job. When it comes to Cody Fajardo, the one question that is already being asked in Edmonton, and I'm sure it's going to increase in volume as the year goes on and the team continues to have success if they do, is should this franchise not have gone ahead with an open competition for quarterback in training camp? Because many would suggest if that was the case that it would have been Cody Fajardo's team come week number 1. Hindsight being 2020, we'll never know the answer to that. But conversely, you mentioned the Ottawa Redblacks. Dustin Crum is going to start at quarterback as Drew Brown left with that I guess it was a contact type knee injury in Winnipeg last week. But man, I just feel for Drew Brown. Like if the guy could stay healthy, that is such a different team with him at quarterback.
BC is playing good football. They're in Toronto on Saturday. That's game 1 of the doubleheader if the Riders and Stamps are the afternoon cap on that. Lions v. Argos. The Argos at times look good and can put it together. They just can't seem to do that for 4 quarters any game. There's something, if they have one good one, here comes 2 bad ones. Yeah. And sometimes in the 2 bad ones, the score gets so ridiculously out of hand, they just can't come back. Nathan Rourke's coming around. I think him and his head coach are on the same page. His receivers, they're getting better. And Farhan said last week, if the BC defensive line could actually start getting some pressure and some sacks, Matthew Betts, start living up to your contract. And he did last week. Did you see him? He was playing with some fire last week against Montreal. He was a game changer or a game breaker. And if they keep playing like that, if you're a Lions fan, you've got to be happy because you've probably been waiting around going, okay, when is this going to kick in?
When it comes to BC, really the old line, right? The only thing consistent about BC this season has been their inconsistency. And if they can find a way to start to weave these games and stack them good effort one on top of the other, then I'm going to be thoroughly convinced. But you got to start to see the stacking happen because it seems like one week the offense is going, the next week the defense isn't. Then the defense is going and the offense isn't the next week. They just can't get all 3 phases together. I'm really curious to see how they do in Toronto against an Argonauts team that's playing for their lives. They know that right now. They have to win. And we'll see if desperation can overcome what the Lions have done as far as having motivation to get in and remain consistent.
If you remember back to Monday's show, desperation was the name of the cologne that we were selling after that horrible game. All right. We're going to let Dave, there it is. Desperation is a stinky cologne. We're going to let Dave go back into his walk-in closet and keep organizing his wardrobe for the weekend. Never know. Maybe Dave calls an audible on Saturday morning in Calgary at the Westin as he's getting dressed before the game and something completely new comes out. That's why you should follow Dave on social media to find out when he does his walk and talk before the game what the fit, as the kids say, is going to be before the big matchup. Dun, dun, dun. Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Oh, and by the way, go to sportscage.com, sign up for that insider email because Dave has a vault of prizes, including, okay, what's this Jeremy Roenick thing you teased about last week that we can win our way to, which I'm like, did I miss another email, miss a text, a group team? So what?
Big dinner
if you're
coming.
Teasing us for, okay.
Big dinner coming to Regina, and we've got a whole schwack of NHL guests. It's a big Indigenous hockey celebration. We've got from Tiger Williams, hometown is Weyburn, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
One of the Tutu is going to be there. It'll be a fantastic night. Opportunity to rub elbows with those folks from the NHL. Become an insider. You get a special code each and every day. You go ahead, you zip it on in, you enter, and that's how you can do it. We've given away tickets to Rider games and, well, you name it. This is going to be a good one, too.